Hello everybody, it is TenTillDeath, and this is a more serious, more mature video. And so this is for the more older audience, because I think this is only something the older audience is truly ever going to understand. And yes, you have read that title right. Today we are going to be talking about why I had my court case, or why I dismissed my court case against my ex-girlfriend and my older sister. Now, if you don't know what happened a few months ago, there was some internet drama that occurred almost about half a year ago now, where my ex-girlfriend decided, hey, they were going to make some certain videos about me and try to expose me. And of course, once I found out they were going to make these videos, I already knew what I had to do. And as someone who always stands up for themselves and someone who wants people to know the truth, I decided, hey, I'm going to make this video in response before they can make their videos and put out the truth about everything that's going on. Because there was literally a TikTok video that they made at the time saying, all right, y'all, I'm going to be exposing this guy named TenTillDeath here soon. And I'm just sitting here like, man, because if you don't know what happened last year, I pretty much went through all that stupid internet drama. And just when we got out of that internet drama, I was like, yeah, here we are. We're going to find ourselves in more internet drama, but I'm always going to defend myself. And if you're really out of the loop, because I didn't really post this much and I didn't really go into details talking about this, but there is a documentary that will be airing here soon where we will go into a little bit more details about it. A few months ago, I did try to get an order of protection filed both against my ex-girlfriend and my older sister. Basically, here's how that came about. When I split up from my ex-girlfriend, they proceeded to spend that time not only harassing me, they ended up harassing my then girlfriend, who is now my wife. They also got their friends to harass me. Their older sister made threats to come down to my house and also my work, and also, pretty much be willing to go back to jail. And then the craziest part about it is my ex-girlfriend then went out of their way to try to reach out to my family members, ruin my relationship with my family members. And the craziest part about all of that is the only family member that would really listen was my older sister. And me and the rest of my family members, we don't talk to my older sister anymore. We cut contact with her. We have our own personal reasons that I'm not going to go too deep into details here. And essentially, because my ex-girlfriend knew the way that my older sister acts, my ex-girlfriend decided, hey, the only person who's going to listen to me is this guy's older sister, the one that the entire family has decided to cut contact with. And so my ex-girlfriend ended up contacting my older sister while her and her friends and her older sister was already harassing me and my girlfriend. And she pretty much tried to get my older sister involved in a breakup that had nothing to do with her, to the point where even my older sister was trying to reach out to my freaking current partner, now wife, and try to spread misinformation and stuff like that. And so because of all of that, I ended up taking my ex-girlfriend and my older sister to court, filing an order of protection against both of them from the repeated harassment that I faced at the hands of my ex-girlfriend and her friends, and also from the harassment that I had faced from my older sister. Because truthfully, my older sister has not only been harassing me for years, she's also been harassing, my family members for years, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. They didn't show up to the first court date. Figures, okay, well, right? So we had an extended hearing for today. Now, from my understanding, they were made well aware that they were going to be it was pretty much relayed to me that my older sister and my ex-girlfriend found out that they were trying to be served, right? And once they found out that they were trying to be served, all the harassment stopped. Like, I never heard from them again. Nobody harassed my wife anymore after that. And, never had to worry anymore. So I went into court today, and I had an idea of, just having the court case dismissed. And the reason why I was going to have the court case dismissed is because after they found out that they were being served, they kind of quit harassing me and my wife. And so I'm just like, well, why should I continue to serve them if they're not harassing us anymore? You know what I mean? And so that's kind of the way that I went into this. But I didn't go into this, without evidence of, harassment. I came in with 2 binders full of evidence. I've had these 2 binders since the last court hearing. One binder is for my ex-girlfriend, one binder is for my older sister. And when I went into court today, I made sure to bring both of these binders. I let the judge know, and this is the second court hearing, I let the judge know, hey, we're just gonna have this dismissed today. because, you know, after they found out that they were being served the first time, they quit harassing us. And that's all we wanted, dude. Like, you know, you're a grown adult. Like, leave it off the internet, man. You don't want... This is the thing, and this is what I don't get, right? There's things that we all as humans, even you the viewer, does in your personal life that you really don't want people knowing or finding out about on the internet, right? Because it's your personal, private lives. Some people might not shower for days, and they don't want people on the internet knowing that. Some people, they might, you know, go dumpster diving, and they don't want people on the internet knowing that stuff, right? They don't want the general public knowing that stuff because that's private information. And that was the issue with all of this here. You know, my ex-girlfriend was like, hey, I'm gonna, you know, decide to put personal stuff out there on the internet and try to expose this guy right after he beat these stupid allegations. And the way I see it is it's an eye for an eye. You know, don't be surprised when someone decides to speak back up and decides to defend themselves. And that was pretty much the case here. And so my ex-girlfriend tried to make videos at the time. I made a video at the time defending myself and showing what was really going on. And from my understanding, as I'm aware of, apparently my ex-girlfriend pretty much took down those videos and stuff. So, woo-woo. But now, since this is out there in the air and out there in the open, because some of you guys probably really didn't even know about any of this, some of you guys sort of did know, because if you were there on TikTok when this was going down, you knew what the hell was going on. So I guess we'll talk about it a little bit today. So this is a binder full of evidence that I brought to my first court hearing. It contains, you know, text messages, phone calls, police reports, you know, with dates and names and phone numbers and stuff like that. Even Discord messages that pretty much show, you know, what my ex-girlfriend was doing. And so I have a little summary that was supposed to be read to the judge during the first court hearing before I decided to dismiss it in the second court hearing. And this one is the summary that I made for my ex-girlfriend with, you know, the attached documents as evidence. And I'm not going to use the real name here. So it reads as follows. In January of 2026, my ex-girlfriend continued to call me and message me after repeatedly ignoring her messages after our breakup. Document A. In the same month on the 15th, my ex-girlfriend's older sister, who had previously went to jail, had messaged me on TikTok threatening to come back to my home, harm me, and bragged about going to jail just to do it. Document B. These threats from my ex-girlfriend's sister made me fear to sleep in my home, as my ex-girlfriend was still living with me at that time. So on the night of January 15th going into the 16th, I slept at a rest stop instead of my house and filed a report with the sheriff's department. Document C. After my ex-girlfriend finally moved out, she stole my stovetop burner I bought months earlier, until which I had to make a report with the sheriff's office for stolen property. Document D. On March 1st, my ex-girlfriend spoke to my older sister, the same older sister I had cut contact with. And both my older sister and my ex-girlfriend would message my current partner in hopes of sabotaging my relationship with them. My ex-girlfriend also contacted me as well, despite me ignoring her since I had last seen her the day she moved out. Document E. I broke up with my ex-girlfriend after 2 years of mental abuse and altercations that I endured. I tried multiple times to break up with them, but they were persistent in me staying each time after I broke up with them for good. My ex-girlfriend's behavior became even more erratic than what it was in our relationship. There were nights in January that I was truly scared to come home, fearing what would happen to my life, Your Honor. I'm requesting this order of protection after having to deal with 2 years of altercations for my ex-girlfriend, seeing my ex-girlfriend collaborate with my older sister to sabotage my relationship, and having to fear for my life after our relationship ended as a result of my ex-girlfriend's older sister's threats. And that was pretty much the statement I was going to read to the judge. And then, like I said, with the documents, document A, B, C, D, that contains, it's literally in alphabetical order with document A, B, C, D, where it has all the evidence. It even has the police reports from, all the filings and everything that I was going to take, in that first hearing to show the harassment. And that was just with my ex-girlfriend. But like I said, we decided to have that one dismissed today because after, she found out she was being served the first time, she pretty much never kind of harassed me again. She never harassed my wife again. And so that's all we wanted at the end of the day. We just wanted these people to chill out. And that's just my ex-girlfriend. Now, my older sister, that's a different basket case. There's reasons why me and the rest of my family members decided to cut her off over the years. And I'm just going to say this, and I'm not going to say too much because some of this might even get me in trouble to say. She has a lot of issues. She has a lot of issues. Clearly, this person has not moved on from their childhood trauma. They're using their childhood trauma to justify how they treat people as adults, which is very crazy. It's like, go get help. Seriously, not even just that. She's holding things that happened during her childhood. Like, because you remember, we were all kids. Like, we were all kids growing up. And so this girl's pretty much, or this woman, is taking incidents from when we were kids and trying to hold it against us as adults. You know, we were all kids. Nobody as a kid really understood what the world was. Nobody really understood mental maturity when we were kids. So I think it's very stupid and very ignorant to try to hold things that we as kids done to each other against us as adults. That's very ignorant, because nobody really had a true genuine concept of morality, maturity, or how things affect each other. None of us really even knew about mental health stuff back in the 2000s like that. Like, you know, that was pretty much not really like a super popular thing. And so I pretty much had this freaking binder with a statement that was written against my older sister, including, because I will say this, you know, she did spend years not only harassing me and finding ways to contact me, but also my family members for years online. You know, she would write fake reviews about my family members at their job to try to get them fired. Like, she really went out of her way to try to ruin our lives and stuff, and that's part of the reason why we cut contact with her. And so this binder contains years of evidence, emails, things she posted online from personal Facebook messages she sent like that, lies, and like it's just freaking wild. And so I'm gonna read the statement that I was supposed to read to the judge during that first hearing before I decided to dismiss the case in my second hearing. And so this was the statement that I wrote to the judge with the attached documents of evidence. And I'm not going to use my older sister's name here. I'm just going to say, my older sister has spent years harassing me and my family members by finding ways to contact us after we've blocked her. Attachment A. She's used legal intimidation and extortion tactics to make me and my family fear for our livelihoods. Attachment B. She has gone out of their way to make attempts to ruin family members' careers and ability to provide for their households through false incidents that never occurred. Attachment C. And has made attempts to ruin mine and family members' personal relationships with loved ones and friends. Attachment D. This has been going on for years, even after I and family members have made attempts to cut contact with my older sister. It's made me fear of losing my job and being unable to support myself as they've tried to cause damage to other family members' careers. It's made me live in fear of being sued for incidents that have never occurred that my older sister claims happened. And it's also made me fear of losing friendships and my romantic interest, as my older sister has contacted my partner and the partners of my family members in attempts to sabotage our relationships. I and other family members have cut contact with her for several years. My older sister still tries to find ways to contact us to harass us, even if this means finding our jobs and trying to get us to lose our financial being to support ourselves. And that was pretty much the written statement that I was supposed to present to the judge in the first court hearing, with, of course, like I said, you know, years of evidence, Facebooks, phone numbers, all of that stuff. And the thing is, like, I'm not going to throw away these two binders of evidence just in case something tries to come up again in the future, because you always want to have a backlog of evidence when it comes to things you were involved in to support yourself in your hearing, because you never know, in the future someone could try to reignite some very old wounds. And if you threw away your old evidence, if you know that there's a problem and you throw away your old evidence, it's going to make it harder to support your statement or support your credibility or support the things you're trying to say in court. And so, you know, it's such a shame that it even had to go down to that point, because, like, literally, I joke you not, you know, for years she was saying that she was going to sue us and stuff like that, right? For years she was threatening to sue me. She was threatening to sue my mom. She was threatening to sue my younger sister. I got text messages and stuff like that of that, you know, emails, stuff like that, right? And, you know, a lot of people don't know that's technically considered legal intimidation. It's considered legal extortion, and it's a misuse of the legal system, because, you know, you can sue someone for that stuff, and it just makes no sense why anyone would even think that's funny. And then, ironically, when someone does try to take this individual to court, they're like, hey, yo, no. Because, you know, I was ready. Like, I was right there ready in court to put out the whole truth about what was going on against both individuals, against both parties. Because at the end of the day, it's like, dude, we are grown. We are in our 20s. I'm in my late 20s now. It's like, if you're out here, you're still trying to harass people online through alt accounts, through making reviews to try to get people fired from their jobs in your late 20s, what are you doing with your life, man? Like, seriously, what are you doing with your life? You're supposed to be a grown adult. It is not grown to, you know, to do this type of stuff. That's mental, emotional immaturity, and it just makes no sense how these are supposed to be two grown adult women, and they thought this stuff was funny. Both of these adult women have threatened to sue me, and then once I take them both to court, it's more so like, whoa. And that's the thing, a lot of people, I have had a lot of people in my lifetime say, I'm gonna sue you because it is very stupid things, right? And then a lot of times, like, the thing is, I don't play around about that stuff. Like, I really will take people to court, like, for real, like, all jokes aside, you know? And it just sucks because at the end of the day, you know, a lot of people in this country talk a lot of this, but none of these people are actually willing to act on all of this. And then when someone acts against them because they were talking all this, suddenly that makes the person that acts against them the bad guy, or in this case, the villain. And like I said, it's such a shame it even had to go this far, because like at the end of the day, it's like nobody wants their personal lives televised to the internet. Nobody wants their personal lives made known to the public of, you know, what's really going on in their personal lives, right? And at the end of the day, it's like, bro, all you guys had to do was just not harass me, not harass my wife. All you guys had to do was act like grown adults and just leave it be, dude. Leave it be, because at the end of the day, I still have more evidence. I got more evidence than what's in both of these binders that's sitting at home that I could have brought in and, you know, been like, all right, here's some more evidence on top of this evidence of these things that I'm saying to support my statements. And so, like I said, at the end of the day, I decided to dismiss both cases against both individuals, because once they found out that I was trying to serve them, and reminder, both of these individuals have told me that they were going to sue me. They did all this talking. Once they found out that I was actually, you know, going to take them to court, because I was not messing around, because I really didn't like what these individuals were doing, suddenly, you know, they stopped their harassment towards me. They stopped their harassment towards my wife, and they just left us alone. And that's all we wanted. We just wanted to be left alone. Like, let us live our lives. We're married. If you got a problem with that, go cry about it. That's pretty much the entire story of that. And I am going to be keeping these binders on my bookshelves, just so I always have, you know, a case of evidence, just in case something like this ever comes back up again against these two individuals. So until next time, peace.